Hello, everyone. I'm Karen Siewert. I'm a program director at Cornell University, and I'd like to welcome you to the session today. We will be speaking to you about our advanced certificate programs that are being offered jointly by the Association of Executive Search and Leadership Consultants and Cornell University. And today you're going to have an opportunity to hear what makes these two programs really unique. And you'll be hearing perspectives both from faculty as well as students who are currently participating in the program. So we have much to share with you today, and I'd like to introduce you right now to Karen Greenbaum. She doesn't need much of an introduction, President and CEO of AESC, and then also Elizabeth or Betta Mannix, who is the Ann Whitney Olin Professor of Management from the S.C. Johnson School of Business at Cornell University. So Karen, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Terrific, and glad to be here, and Betta, really looking forward to our conversation. So let me just begin. Can you tell me a bit about, all of us actually, a bit about yourself and the programs you're teaching, both in executive talent, because you're doing the first session, as well as in the upcoming leadership and culture session?
Sure, I'm happy to, and thanks for having me here today. So as Karen said, I am a faculty member in the Johnson College of Business. My background is actually as a social psychologist. So I spent some time focusing on really what it is that people do in their organizations to help them thrive and experience personal growth. That's really my interest. And I'm particularly interested in what it is that allows some people to really see challenges as opportunities, as to see those things as ways to expand who they are. And, you know, as you can imagine, this is particularly important within sort of the recent about year and a half within the pandemic. This has become even more important as people are facing an awful lot of challenges that we're seeing within the workplace as well as in their personal lives. I'm convinced this is a skill that you can learn. This is not a personality characteristic, and there's a great deal of research that would show that is the case. And so one of the things that I'm really passionate about is the first topic that I'm teaching, which is leading with courage. And again, I address this as a skill. Very much a skill-based focus on this. And the second one is building inclusive cultures. And that's the other topic that I'm teaching, which again is something that I'm really focused on and I've been working on for quite a long time.
Terrific. So we have two programs, Executive Talent and Leadership and Culture, and they're really designed to complement each other. So we actually used to have one big program when we broke it into two segments. What's your own perspective on how they work together and how they can also stand alone?
The programs really can stand alone. So when you look at the topics themselves, there really is the opportunity to say, you know, I'm going to take one of them and I'm going to be able to go through the topics and say, yep, I can do that on their own. But you're absolutely right. They complement each other in really unique ways. And so let me take an example. So one of them, if you think about, for example, if you're taking the second program, when I'm teaching building inclusive cultures, we talk about how it is that you can value people through being an inclusive leader. But if you take the other program where you've got Professor Lisa Nishi, who by the way is amazing, she's going to be focusing on unconscious bias. When you pull these two things together, that combination just brings you so much deeper insight that you really don't have without the two. Now, yeah, you can do one or the other. That is absolutely right. But being able to pull the two things together is bringing you a lot more insight. And I'll give you another example. There's a sequence that you have on negotiation and critical thinking. Again, that is an amazing sequence, standalone sequence, absolutely be able to do that. Monday morning ready with Professors Mish and Professor Slipowitz. But when you are able to put that within the context of kind of the HR talent succession strategies, I think that just gives you so much more richness with bringing the two programs together, that the complement there is really strong. So again, they can stand alone, but I can really see the advantages to being able to take them together. And I'll add one thing too. I don't think it's necessary to think about, you know, there's a sequence of program, you're thinking about which one do I take first. I think you really could say, I'm going to take one versus the other in either sequence, and that would work.
And we'll hear a little bit about that from a couple of the people who are attending now, but I think they've chosen to take executive talent and then leadership and culture. If you didn't take the first one, sign up for the second, and then you can follow it with the next term. So anyway, we're proud of the long partnership between AESC and Cornell. This program's been going on for a while. What makes this program so unique in your perspective?
So, it is a unique combination. I've been working with you for such a long time. And I think that when I look at it, the customization, first of all, as I think about what we do is really important. So it's absolutely true that, it's true that I look at the faculty at Cornell, we lead really the world in research and teaching on these topics. And then we combine with a leading professional organization as we think about executive search and talent consulting. That combination is truly unique. I mean, you're not going to see that anywhere else. The sessions are research-based and they're drawn from industry and industry best practices. So absolutely, it's true that what you've got is sort of that unique combination. The other thing that I'm going to say is that when I teach in the program, I'm just amazed at the global representation of the participants. And you're going to hear more about that from the students who are in the program. But I just came off of teaching a session just a few days ago, and we have students who are coming from all over the world. So from everywhere from Indonesia to Thailand to Azerbaijan. And that, I think, also speaks to the uniqueness of the program and the high level of the program as well.
That's great. And I also add that we also bring in some outside experts. So we have an amazing faculty, and then we bring in outside experts. So we talked about assessment, and then we brought in people who are actually doing that on the ground as an assessment panel so that you can tie the two together. And we've done that throughout this session as well as the next. We'll be doing the same. So for those joining us on this webinar, whether you're live or listening after, can you highlight some of the big ideas that we'll be covering in the leadership and culture session?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are a few things that go through that are actually kind of big threads, big ideas that go through the sessions that are actually beyond the actual topics themselves. So when I look at that, I think about, there's a topic that has to do with just basic self-awareness. So when you think about self-awareness itself, we have topics on things like authenticity and trust. We have topics on inclusion. We have topics on negotiation or critical thinking. If you think about it, you can't really do any of those things without really knowing who you are at your best, right? What you want, and the ability that you're able to sort of ground yourself firmly first, and then be able to engage in those skills. And I think one of those big topics, then, if you think about all of those topics, there's this thread through that about deeply knowing who you are. And then you're able to engage, I think, more clearly with a client through other awareness. And I think relational building is the second big topic. So if you think about those topics themselves, the other big idea is building relationships, building trust, connecting with others. So we've got, if you think about the topics which are there, those are important and the skills are important, but underlying it is, how do I build those trusting relationships? How do I connect with others through the skills that I have as a leader? And I'll add a third one, which I think is context, right? Understanding the context that I'm in. So what is the culture that I'm in? How is that important? And how is that driving my behavior? And you'll see that thread throughout all of our topics as we have those conversations.
You've done a great job of explaining that. And I think one of the points you made that I want to emphasize is that there are a lot of programs that are for individuals to develop their own leadership skills. This one is unique because it is really for people who are using those skills in the executive talent space. So whether you're an executive search consultant, a leadership consultant, or whether you focus on in-house talent acquisition or even broader HR, you're using it not only for yourself as an individual leader, but how do you apply this to the work that you do every single day? So really great to connect those two things. It makes it a little bit different. So let me put you on the spot now. What are the top 3 reasons why executive search consultants, leadership consultants, in-house talent acquisition, HR should sign up for the next session of AESC and Cornell's program?
Well, so you want 3. So let me give you one of the first things that I think is really important. And one of the things is that I think there is truly, and you just said it really, I'm gonna pull off the thing that you just said. The session I just was working on, which is leading with courage. One of the things we talk a lot about is how it is that you can, first of all, have courage yourself, but how it is that also you can use these tools to really engage with your clients and work with clients. And one of the things that I do in that session is talk a lot about the skills of courage. And partway through, one of the participants said, you know, this tool not only is helping me, but I have a client who's grappling with a problem right now. And I'm going to take this tool, and at 8 a.m. tomorrow, we're going to work through this problem with her, because this is exactly what she needs to be able to work through and make some decisions about what she's going to do next. And I think that exactly one of the things you mentioned about, for example, professionals in the assessment space, or whether we're working in courage or we're working in inclusion, one of the things that we do is we have basically talk about what is it that you can use not only for yourself, but for your clients, and have things that are, it was a Wednesday, so it's Thursday morning ready, but Monday morning ready to be able to utilize right away, and things that are useful, helpful, that are, first of all, based in research, but that are also applicable, and that bridge that gap between yourself and your client. And so I would really say those are two things right away built into one, right? Is that these are things that are basic, really foundational and clearly useful, but that also are bridging the gap between you and your client. And the other clear thing I would say is that I have to really talk about the participants, which is that you are talking about very high level individuals who come ready to share the challenges that they are facing with each other and to have deep level conversations. And I will say right away that they're challenging me in these conversations and challenging each other. And it is fun and enjoyable and interesting. And we walk away with insights that are truly, I mean, at a very high level. And that's one of the things that these conversations are intimate. They are challenging, and they are really truly at a level that you think, wow, this is something that you don't see all of the time. And I think people are building networks that are ranging, again, we'll hear more from the participants on this, that are all over the world, that truly just are right in the space that we want to be in executive search, right, and in leadership.
So that's great. And, you know, the whole notion of leading with courage, it's a great example, because we have to help our clients find great talent, right? And so one of the questions we have to ask is for the executives we're talking about, how do they lead with courage? Give me examples. The more we understand what leading with courage means, the more we can help identify leaders who in fact understand and who can do that. So that understanding helps us in the roles that we play as advisors.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
So this has been a great session. As you know, we only have 30 minutes today, so everything is very, very quick. Beta and I are going to be staying on for the whole session in case there are questions at the end for us. And I'm going to turn this over to Karen and Santi and Ignacio. I'm going to mention something that Karen's going to mention again, which is if you're interested in signing up or knowing more, just send an email to education@aesc.org. Karen, you can repeat that again later so people don't forget. And we'll go off camera for now and let the next group go on.
Thank you so much, Beta and Karen. Great discussion. Thank you for sharing your insights and highlighting the faculty perspective. So now, as Karen mentioned, we're going to have an opportunity to hear from two students about their experiences participating in the program. I'm delighted to introduce you to Santi Dharmaputra, who's the Indonesian country manager at Dasali Search. And we also have Ignacio Lucini, who is the global head of executive recruitment at General Motors. So Santi, why don't we start with you?
Hi, thanks, Karen, for the introduction. And so in short, my experience with the Cornell faculty has been really great. And the instructors have deep knowledge of both theory and practice. The explanation and discussion cover a wide range of areas of human resourcing applicable to those working at executive search firms and in-house alike. And like Beta mentioned before, the cohorts are really varied, like people come from all over the world, from ANZ, from North America, and also from Asia. And it's just, we share different type of experience, each time during the discussion. And yeah, and then in relation to my current work, I feel the program is really beneficial. I've been learning lots of new things. My firm, the Sally Consulting, is specializing in higher education. So it's beneficial for me to listen to the class discussion from those whose businesses are in fields other than higher education. And also there are some people like Ignacio, who is in-house or from a big company. And it's also Ignacio and other people also have different kind of insights from us who's working in an executive search firm. And when the instructors explained to us about some good practices in working with clients and candidates, I thought, great, our firm has been doing nearly all those points. While at the same time, I learned some new tips by listening to the class discussion. So in short, I feel that I got some kind of confirmation on my firm's good practice while learning new things at the same time through the topics as taught by the instructors and also through the discussion among my classmates. And about the topics, how relevant are the topics and classroom discussions to my work? So it's really relevant to our work in a unique way. I mean, like we all come from different companies, different, some are executive search firms, some are in-house, but it affects, it benefits people in a different way. And how do we know that? Because everyone has been so engaged with the discussion and everyone's smiling at the same time, have their opinions, etc. While in particularly for me and my firm, is that we are an Australian-based company and we've been developing our business in Asia since a couple of years ago. So the topics in the class talk about what happened before, during, and after the pandemic and what the trends might be in the longer run for executive search. We also talk about equity, about leadership and overcoming biases, things that we encounter in our industry. All this knowledge is valuable for my firm as we are expanding internationally in this new normal situation. But of course, other students who are in different situations, they're already doing their startup businesses. Of course, they will benefit from their own perspective, So it's really, they touch the topics and the discussion really touch every aspect of the business in human resourcing. And I also feel that the program is unique, because a lot of us come from different education background, not necessarily related to human resourcing. Some have legal backgrounds, some others in economy, some are energy engineers, and so on. And the Cornell AESC training provides some grounding theories, that is the concept of human resourcing. It gives the background. And I feel, as someone coming from a legal background, I feel that the classes have given me a more well-rounded perspective, which helps me to become more confident in doing my job as an executive search practitioner. So yeah, that's my take. So I'm sure my colleague, my classmate, Ignacio, will have more to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Santi. What did you leave me out to share here? Let me see. I'm not going to take time to introduce for further introductions. Anybody can look me up on LinkedIn and see my career. But let me tell you, I was some of you a couple of months ago trying to find out what this program was all about. And the reason why I decided to take this course, and I don't regret because the expectations have been met so far, is that I wanted to refresh some of the knowledge in the space we work so hard every day. And while you may think that you know it all, there's an undeniable value in expanding on the technical and business knowledge we already have. So that is something that I'm taking out of this course already. The other thing is obviously networking. Professionals in this field is innate in our function to do that, so to connect and to know other people. And the other thing I took it for is because I feel that this could inspire me to do something else regarding my education, opening the door to the possibility of seeing other areas I could explore. For example, artificial intelligence and executive recruitment. What is that? How is it that it's going to look like in the near future? Jasmine, I don't want to repeat anything that Santi might have said, but in terms of about the course, it's very interactive. I find the discussions to be very, very nice. They're online, and you have breakout rooms as well, so you get to interact with all your cohorts. There's a diversity, speaking about them, there's diversity of nationalities. We have people in our class from Australia, from Thailand, Indonesia, Mexico, United States, Europe. I mean, it's very interesting. And not only in terms of nationalities, but also background and career stages. There are some that are starting their career in executive search, but changing from in-house to consulting or vice versa. And that is interesting because it adds complexity and richness to the discussion. The other thing I like, it's of course the Cornell teachers and coordinators, because they've add not only the technicality with which they do what they do, but also they challenge us to think differently. You know, when you are in your day-to-day doing the projects and getting this candidate signed and then the offer and all that, and this is a little bit of a breather to feed your brain with some new things that are happening in the market, and that is the content. The content is very current. The topics are things that are interesting to us. So and it's helpful because then there's a way to come across even more professional than you already are with your clients and with your candidates, and that is definitely an added value. The other thing I like about the content is the trends that we discuss. We're talking about new things happening in our profession that we usually don't necessarily have the time all the time to look at it. So this is something that we discuss as part of the program and very valuable. So how I'm going to use or how I am using this, because at the end of the day is a training program or a course is as good as the usage you give it to. So in my case, I can already feel that I'm better in supporting my hiring managers. I was for many years on the consulting side and recently switched in-house. And then I am learning to do this for our internal hiring managers. And some of the techniques that we discussed, I'm already applying, and I have to say it's been very positive. The insights, and clearly you can make better presentations because you can infuse those presentations with some of the trends and things we discuss. So that would be for me. I mean, I want to give some time for Q&A, and I'll pass it back now to the AESC and Cornell team. But thank you for having me.
Well, that was great. Karen, and I really enjoyed that. I can speak for her, I know. Ignacio, Santi, thank you. Beta, you were fabulous. So now we're going to take questions, and I'll just sort of lob them over to different people. I'm going to actually take the first question, which is, are there any prerequisites for participating? So this is an advanced certificate. This is not for junior people. It is for senior people, either in the profession or in industry, but for senior people who have solid experience. The typical candidates will be either from the executive search and leadership consulting profession or on the corporate side. But again, for senior people, it's not a 101 how-to program. So let me ask a question about the how time intensive is the program. Ignacio, I'm going to ask you this question. How time intensive is the program in terms of your own perspective?
Good question, because that was one of the questions I asked in my information sessions back in time. You know, I was concerned about how intense it was. Not necessarily intense. It is a very manageable workload. The classes itself are between 1 hour and a half, 2 hours, and it's a nice breather of your day. So, you know, I'm looking forward to those 2 hours that I have to interact with my cohort colleagues. And then in terms of homework, some classes do have some pre-work and homework, but it's very manageable. You know, we all have busy schedules, and this is something that you can manage very easily. I'm very comfortable with the timings.
So thank you very much. So the next question is about the format of the program, and I'm going to ask two different people to answer it from two different perspectives. So Santi, I'd like you to answer it from someone who's participating in it. How would you describe the format? And then Karen, I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit more broadly on format.
Yeah. Thanks, Karen. So there are some of the sessions that we are asked to do some reading ahead, and personally, that's my favorite sessions, because that's really where the theory comes from, you know. So it's really nice, and And so, and then we got to discuss, we got to give our opinion after reading before the class, and then we got to discuss our opinion there, and then the instructor will go on point by point with us. And then there are other formats also when there is the expert lead discussions, and that's also interesting. 4 to 5 experts, they talk about their experience, they share about their experience, and then we come into a discussion, and other formats are one instructor, and then with the PowerPoint, and then we got to discuss the points, for 1.5 hours. And all of the formats, I think they're equally interesting, equally exciting, so, and it's also different, some are talking about really about you. The last session with Beta, we're talking about ourselves actually, and that's really a really great introduction to the leadership session. I think how, in my opinion, like we as a leader, anyone as a leader, we should understand ourselves before we are being able to lead other people. So I think that's really interesting also, zooming in and zooming out.
Great answer for that, Santi. And so, Karen, I'm going to let you sort of give your own perspective, do a wrap up. I know we have a slide that will pop up that talks about the next session, so you can pull that all together in your last few minutes.
Great. Thank you, Karen. And thank you, everyone, for sharing all of your great perspectives and insights. It's been a really great discussion. So the format of the program, just to highlight, Santi did a great job of answering it from that perspective. We do live, we hold it over live Zoom sessions. So as Ignacio had said, there's a lot of opportunity to both interact with the faculty as well as to have breakouts in smaller groups with each of the individual participants as well. So I think if you are interested in signing up for this, as Karen mentioned, please go to education@aesc.org. Next year, we have 2 great programs planned for you. So we have the Leadership and Culture program, which will be running from mid-March through mid-June. And then we will later in the year be offering the Executive Talent program, which will run mid-September through early December. So we're excited to be offering these, and we do hope that you have an opportunity to invest in yourselves, and we look forward to seeing you in the programs in the next year.
Thanks, everybody. We managed to get a lot done in 30 minutes. So again, if you have any questions or if you want to know more, just send an email to AESC education@aesc.org. Thanks all.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.